Imagine a machine that prints money 24 hours a day. It never sleeps, it never jams, it never runs out of ink. And the most terrifying part? You are not allowed to see it. The Federal Reserve is not the real printer. The real printer is private. It sits behind closed doors in the Hamptons, in Gstaad, in Singapore. It is owned by a handful of families, and it is perfectly 100% legal. Tonight, we walk straight into that room. We are going to watch the machine work in real time. And when we walk out, you will never look at money the same way again. This is the story of how the ultra-rich print money without ever printing a single dollar. The trick is not new. It began in the 1920s with margin loans. It grew in the 1980s with junk bonds. It exploded in the 2000s with private equity. But the final perfect form was born after the 2008 crisis. Central banks dropped interest rates to zero and promised to keep them there forever. Suddenly, the richest people on earth could borrow unlimited amounts of money at almost no cost. You and I pay 19, 25, sometimes 30% on credit card debt. They pay less than inflation. Sometimes they pay less than zero. That gap, that tiny gap in interest rates, is the ink for their private money printer. Let me show you exactly how the machine works. For simple steps, step 1. Buy. They purchase an asset, a painting, a company, a block of apartment buildings. $1 billion of Apple stock. Doesn't matter. They only put down 5 or 10% of their own money. Step 2. Borrow. They walk into a private bank, JP Morgan Private Bank, Goldman Sachs, UBS, Northern Trust, and they pledge the asset they just bought as collateral. The bank lends them 90 or 95% of the value at 1 or 2% interest. Step 3. Wait. Time passes. The asset rises in price. It always rises because there is infinite cheap money flooding the system. Let's use simple numbers. They buy $1 billion of stock with 50 million of their own cash. They borrow the other 950 million at 2%. The stock market goes up 20% in a year. The collateral is now worth 1.2 billion. They go back to the bank and borrow the new gain, 200 million, tax-free. Their original 50 million is still sitting there, untouched. They just turned 50 million into 200 million of spendable cash, without selling anything, and without paying a penny in capital gains tax. That is 400% return on their actual money in 12 months. You and I would be taxed at 20, 30, 40% if we tried that. They pay zero. Step 4. Repeat. Every year the asset goes up. Every year they borrow the gain. Every year the loan is tax-free because it's debt, not income. Now comes the darkest part of the trick. When they die, their heirs inherit the asset at the new, higher market price. This is called stepped-up basis. Every unrealized gain in history is wiped clean. The loan dies with the billionaire. The banks are paid off from the estate. The heirs start the game again with a fresh printer. Buy, borrow, die. That is the entire strategy. It has a name on Wall Street. They call it buy, borrow, die. It is not a loophole. It is the central operating system of modern wealth. Between 2020 and 2023, the machine went into overdrive. Interest rates were zero or negative in real terms. Stock markets doubled. Real estate doubled. Art prices tripled. The Forbes 400 borrowed over $1 trillion against unrealized gains in that 3-year window alone. Elon Musk took out over 100 billion in personal loans against Tesla stock. Tax rate on that cash? Zero. Jeff Bezos extracted more than 50 billion against Amazon shares and Seattle real estate. Tax rate? Zero. Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison, the Walmart heirs, the Mars Candy family, all of them running the same play at the exact same time. The bottom 90% of America watched their wages rise 21% since 2019. While the real cost of housing healthcare, and education rose 40 to 60%. The middle class took on record credit card debt at 24% interest. The machine printed money for one side and printed pain for the other. This is not investing. This is extraction. Every dollar borrowed against appreciated stock is a dollar that never enters the real economy. It never becomes a factory. It never becomes a paycheck. It never becomes a new business on Main Street. It becomes a bigger yacht, a 10th mansion, another private jet. The wealth gap is no longer growing. It is accelerating exponentially. In 1980, the top 1% owned about 20% of all US stocks and bonds. Today, they own 55%. In 1971, a CEO made 20 times the average worker. Today, it's 350 times. The printer made that possible. And here is the worst part. The machine is now too big to turn off. If the Fed raises rates high enough to stop it, the collateral crashes, the loans default, and the entire banking system freezes worse than 2008. If they keep rates low, the printer keeps running, and the middle class keeps disappearing. There is no third option. There will be no congressional hearing. There will be number 60 Minutes expose that changes anything. There will be no new law, because the people who write the laws use the same printer. The machine is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. The rich do not break the rules. They own the rule book, and the ink is infinite. The printer never sleeps. It never will. So I'll leave you with one question, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments. If tomorrow morning you woke up and you were handed the keys to this exact same machine, tax-free, limitless, private money printer, would you turn it off or would you press start? Be honest. I read every single reply.